Hi, I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm Amber Churchwell.
And we are the Watchers in the Basement. Welcome back to our channel if you are a longtime watcher or even more recent watcher. And welcome to those who may be new. Consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're on the road to 300 subscribers, y'all. Help make that happen. Hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we'll be going live. Amber, we love going live here on YouTube because it gives us a chance to talk with our audience here in the live chat. And today is an awesome day because we're going to be talking more about Percy Jackson and the Olympians that is airing on Disney Plus. We've got 2 episodes to cover today. So I'm going to turn it over to Amber. Amber, tell us what you are thinking now that we're a little bit more than halfway done with this season 1 of Percy Jackson.
I was a little sad at the fact that the 4th episode was shorter than the other ones. I was a little sad about that, but seeing the 5th episode, I think where they cut it off kind of makes sense because there's not really another opening for them to have cut it off without extending it a lot longer. Mm-hmm. So I kind of get it, especially like with him just jumping out of the arch and getting in the water. Nereid, like it's just seeing the Nereid. I think I'm okay with it now that the 5th episode's out, but I was a little bummed out about it. Yeah. And again, I still really like all of the changes because the changes make sense. They're not just changing things willy-nilly for no valid reason. Because again, Rick Riordan's like hands are all over this, but I'm still really enjoying it. I'm very excited for the remaining episodes. How about you?
So I going into the 4th episode, I was having still some feelings. Obviously, if y'all watched our series premiere pod on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, you know I had some feelings, some deep feelings about this show because, you know, we were told it was going to be faithful to the book. It was going to be truer to the book. And I just wasn't getting it. Now, Amber has made some very compelling arguments as to why things were changed the way that they have been, pointing out that Rick Riordan and his wife in an interview with Vanity said that they basically wanted to be able to tell more stories through this medium that he wasn't able to when writing the books. Totally understand it. He's the creator. He is very involved in this series, as you mentioned. He gets to make those decisions. Like, I totally get that. I'm supportive of that. Mm-hmm. I'm just hung up on the whole, hey, this is going to be more faithful than the movies that you got. And I've been a little, I feel like I've been let down a little from what I've seen on social media. It's kind of mixed with people, you know, people who are purists. I say purists like myself, you who've read the books and are watching the television series, have seen the movies, and it's a little mixed. Some people are just like, oh, thank God. Like, thank God that they're doing this. It's so much better than the movies. Others are like, really? Like, what? Like, I don't get it. And then there's a whole new fan base of people who, of course, have not seen the movies or have not read the books or one of the two. And, you know, they're enjoying it, which is great. You know, like I'm great. We have this. It's great that we have this content, of course. But that being said, even going into episode 4, I'm like, okay, we didn't get this scene where the kids go to St. Louis, Missouri. They go to the Arch. Like, we didn't get that at all in the movie. So this was an opportunity for us to see the thing that we only have read about. And I got to say, I was still a little miffed about it. I was very happy that they went to St. Louis, Missouri. I think too, the episode being shorter, like you mentioned, it was about what, a 34, 38 minute run compared to like the 40 something minute that we've been getting. 38. Thank you. I'm like, had they done the full 43 minutes and maybe cut out some of the talking. They could have done a little bit more, but, we'll cover that. The 5th episode, well, you know what? I'm gonna save it when we actually dive deeper into However, let's go ahead and start discussing, episode 4 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, entitled "I Plunge to My Death," which actually comes from chapter 13 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Lightning Thief book. And what did you think of the opening scene with Amber? Listen to me. Goodness. I know people. I know who Amber is. I know who Annabeth is. Good Lord. What are your thoughts on the opening scene of Percy and Annabeth talking on the
In the
train?
train.
Yeah. It's like the middle of the night. Percy wakes up, and he just starts having a conversation with Annabeth.
I thought their conversation was very interesting because I think how we're starting to see things is I kind of like how they're playing it out, because granted, we see Percy become, further on in the series, we see him be very much just to the gods of the mindset of pay your child support.
Right.
So, but I think he just kind of already has that mindset, and I think it's just really seeing the juxtaposition between Annabeth and Percy and how they think of things, and how it's slowly starting to change because of each other, and even more prominently in the 5th episode too. But like Percy, he doesn't know the gods. He wasn't raised in it as closely or as intimately as Annabeth was. He doesn't trust in them. He doesn't have that respect or like fear of them that she does. And I think through him, she's kind of starting to see like, oh yeah, they are kind of flawed. Oh yeah, they do have this, and this that they probably wasn't great decisions by them. And she kind of starts to question them and, like, I guess waver a little bit more. And I think that's good for growth for her character. And I think for Percy, seeing how from her, like her experiences of learning from the gods, he's starting to see like, oh, okay, this is a completely different life than what I lived the past 12 years. So I thought it was very, very interesting just listening to them talk. And of course, Grover waking up was hilarious.
And he's extremely grouchy if he doesn't get his beauty sleep. And I love that because listen, same too. I've been awake since 4 a.m. this morning. And if you're going to like ask me stupid questions that early in the morning, you're going to get some attitude. Like, let's just be real. So Grover, I understand you. We're right here. Yeah, his little like, like just mocking. It was fabulous. I understand that on a very deep spiritual level. But I do appreciate first of all, your perspective of this opening scene, really. And I say opening, but it's not really the opening. It's interesting to hear someone else's perspective, because again, I'm so kind of like hell-bent on, I want the thing to be as pure and as right as it was in the book. And I understand we're not going to get that. I have to come to terms with that. Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, honey, I'm going to break it to you. You're setting yourself up for disappointment.
I know.
And I don't want you to be so disappointed. Like, if you literally just let
it go,
you would have such a great time with it.
Yeah. And it's just, it's very difficult. However, that being said, one of the things that we talked about in the first pod was just the lack of breathing room with this story, because we're only getting 8 episodes. You're trying to put at least 20 something chapters into 8 episodes, and you don't have a lot of breathing room to really internalize what's happening and how quickly things are moving. And it's just like, this just doesn't feel natural. Like, we're supposed to be on this journey with these kids and discovering things with them, and I feel like we're just being like, here, like, here it is, shove it down your throat kind of thing. But this is also why I do appreciate your breakdown and your point of view of the things that have been changed, because it does work given the time frame, given just how compact like everything is going to be with this season.
Yeah.
And let's just be real, like they have to like give us a story kind of like fast because we're limited to eight episodes this season. That being said, I think it was also interesting prior to the scene with Annabeth and Percy that we see young Percy in a pool with his mother, learning how to swim, being comfortable in water. And, his mother has always been trying to teach him subtly that these are important things that you need to know because one day I may not be here for you to help you or to protect you. You need to be ready. And then the whole world kind of shifts and you see little Percy in what looks to be like sand, right? In a desert somewhere. And there's this figure that, we've seen before in previous episodes that's speaking to him. It's basically it's titled the voice of the dream or something along those lines, right? It's the creature that's in his dream that's talking to him, seemingly trying to get to him. And we're not going to, really discuss too much about who this person may be, but we're getting these little hints here and there that's setting up for the bigger plot, obviously, right? So first of all, I just have to say, we talked about this offline. The child that plays young Percy is just adorable. I love his name. Azriel is just such a sweetie, so cute. I just want to like gobble him up. He's just so precious.
He is. He's really cute. I thought I think the dream sequences are interesting. I actually, if I'm not wrong, I think the 5th episode is the first one we have that didn't have any dream sequences because they were just go.
Right. Yeah.
But kind of going back to what you were saying about how fast everything's kind of being info dumped. I like one thing I do kind of like, yes, it is fast because that's one thing that you and I very much agree on in the first pod that we covered was it is really, really rapid pace, but they also do have to fit everything within 8 episodes. But what I do like is like, they're getting us all of this information, but I feel like the way that they're giving it to us is different. And I kind of appreciate that because in the books, a lot of it is just Percy didn't know anything about Greek mythology except from what he learned in Chiron's class when Chiron was pretending to be a teacher. So, like, yeah, he knew some of the myths, but not all of them. And but everything else was just Annabeth having to explain this, Annabeth having to explain that, Annabeth having to do this. And it was just a lot coming from her. Well, I feel like here, having him already be familiar through Sally and through his mom and having experience and knowledge of the myths has been helpful because he can kind of, I guess, solidify it and they can all like talk about it a little bit more naturally than just, oh, what is this thing attacking us? And it's like, well, Percy, in mythology, it's just, it feels a little bit more natural. And we didn't get any explanation about the celestial bronze until the 5th episode, but it made sense because we came across it. Like, it's just, I feel like how they're giving us the information is a little bit more natural, even though it is fast paced.
I guess we'll just have to accept that it's going to be, quote, natural because of the space that it's in, right? We're not actually going through every little detail, of course, with the chapters and such, because this episode covers like chapters like I think 13 and 14 of the book. So with the kids being on the train, we're actually spending a lot more time on the train, and we're getting a lot of information while they're there. And with that being said, this is a different approach when we meet the mother of all monsters. I'm going to say that because I can't pronounce the official name because
Echidna.
Echidna. I want to read it and actually say it with the CH sound, and I just didn't want to say that live
It's like
here.
cichlid.
Oh yeah, that's another one. But
Echidna.
anyway, with the echidna, comparison from TV to the book, we meet the echidna in St. Louis on the arch, because the big difference being is that with the TV show, we're kind of staying on track about, we have a mission, we've got someplace we got to be at, by this time, what have you. There's no time to do any R&R, kind of like how in the book it was kind of like, oh, like we're going to go check out the arch in St. Louis because Annabeth is a huge fan of architecture. We haven't really gotten that at all really in this series. Not that for the time being it's a huge piece of information that we really need to know about Annabeth. I guess they could introduce that at some point. I mean, we kind of got like an inkling here because of just the amount of knowledge she shared about, the it's perfectly balanced, it's height, it's this and that, what have you. So, you can kind of maybe get an understanding. She's into architecture. Cool. But where I drew a slight issue, and I only say this just for educational purposes, that to suggest that the arch is the temple of Athena. I'm like, there's some people out there who may actually take that as gospel, right? And it's not like it's not, unlike the Hoover Dam. You and I talked about this,
Yes.
offline. The Hoover Dam actually is like dedicated to the gods. That's cool. That's fact. That's real. St. Louis Arch is not. So yeah, I thought that was kind of a weird thing.
Is Hoover Dam actually like confirmed? Like, did the people constructing it dedicate it to the gods intentionally, or is that just us
someone
acknowledging
somewhere did? Someone somewhere.
Well,
did.
I mean, hey, I've been to the Hoover Dam, and other than those statues, there wasn't anything implying that was intentionally made for the gods.
Oh, maybe
it's just Rick. It's just Rick adding something, and he did the same thing with the arch.
Maybe I'll have to do a little bit more research. Probably should have done that before I came on here and opened my mouth. Anyway, that being said, I don't know. It's just, to me, it was just kind of a weird take on things, but okay, that's fine. Like we'll go with that. I'm thinking like there are people out there. Case in point, if the Hoover Dam dedicated to the gods was a machination of Rick Riordan, I believed it, and therefore I'm passing on false information. See, this is my point.
Yep. But also, a lot of people know that this is a fictional story.
That's fair.
And so people who actually are Hellenistic and actually do practice these because that like the religions that worship these deities are still alive and well. Like there are people who still worship the Grecian pantheon, and that's still very much a thing. And I don't think any of those people go to the Hoover Dam to worship. None of them do.
The gods. Yeah.
Like they have their own beings and their own practices and their own locations specifically for that. I don't think that they were trying to like say the arch is for Athena. It's more of just like it's not a temple in proper name, like where they go to worship and do sacrifices and such.
Right.
It's more of one of the kids of Athena was like, hey, this would be cool to make for my mom.
Fair.
And
fair.
I mean,
fair.
It's just
fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, also, I kind of like, because like I said, like they do have a very limited time frame. They only had like, I think they only had like a couple of weeks until the solstice. And they are on a time crunch. And it did kind of bother me that, oh yeah, we're going to waste a whole day of travel just to go to the arch.
Right. In the
you
book.
Are on a
yeah.
You're
in the
on
book,
a time
they decide, hey, we've been traveling for so long, like let's do something that Annabeth is gonna like, let's take a break. And then during that break,
So I like that this was a way for them to have something that, yeah, she still enjoys it very clearly when she's info dumping about it. She very much clearly still is enjoying being there, but it gives actually a reason and purpose for going there.
Sure.
And I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that we met the echidna earlier because that makes sense with the hunting. Because I felt like it was getting too much of the, especially in the book, it was a lot of we're just randomly going to go here, and then the place that we just randomly decided to go to just to spend a day to relax apparently has echidna in the elevator. It just didn't flow as well.
But I mean, still the same argument of they're on a train that, takes them to the place that they need to go, but they randomly run into the mother of all mothers. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like,
she went onto the train to find them. She intentionally went there.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like she intentionally went there on the thing, and not just I happen to be on the same elevator as you guys.
That's true.
It
Yeah.
just,
I mean, so some of the things that they're redoing for the show, I mean, they are making it work, just so, for time purposes, of course. So, yeah, you make a good point. We meet the echidna, we meet her baby, adorable little Yorkie creature thing. That's really not
chimera.
the adorable little creature thing. Yeah, it's the chimera. That one I could say, but yeah, it was kind of interesting because obviously when they're on the train, the events of someone breaking into their room, tearing it up to bits. I mean, obviously that didn't happen, but it set that motion to running into the echidna and then being hunted, as you said, and so on and so forth. So, again, they're deviating from the main story of the book, but they are reworking things to still like make the thing happen. It still caused the kids to get off the train. They made their way to the arch, which is not just like a random, hey, let's go check this out. Like, no, let's go be protected by, Annabeth's mom, Athena, because this is dedicated to her. This is a temple of hers. So they make it work. It's just, it's still hard for me to kind of like accept it because again, I'm a purist. I have admitted it, but I'm willing to be a little bit more open-minded. Annabeth, what are you? Annabeth. Oh, Jesus Christ! I swear, I'm gonna get your name. I'm gonna get everyone's names right. I promise.
I did want to talk about Annabeth, so
please do. Please talk about Annabeth. Also, talk a little bit about. There seems to be like a little bit of rift between Annabeth and Grover when they're at the arch.
Yeah, I'll talk about that. When they first get to the arch and they're still on ground level, we do see the depictions of when people were basically settling in those areas and destroying the wildlife and the nature, as well as hunting animals. We see some skulls of animals too, and for Grover, who is a satyr, who basically is a big promoter of the health and safety of the wild, it is something that kind of bothers him and it rubs him the wrong way. And Annabeth realizes that, I think it was really kind of mature of her to realize, like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have said that. Like, I think it was kind of wise of her to say that, but he went, and he needed a second to walk away, and he took it. Like, and I thought that was kind of well done, and it gave us some moments to have some Percy Beth moments, which was great, and I'm always in the mood for
Percy Beth. That's lovely.
I love them. One thing though that I did want to talk about with how like they go to the arch to try and be safe and protected by Athena because it is a temple for Athena, but that ends up backfiring because Athena is mad about the Medusa head that was sent. And but here's a beautiful parallel of a woman try in a temple of Athena, getting accused and basically disliked and hounded by Athena because of
Mhm.
something that Poseidon or a child of Poseidon did, like Medusa.
I had not considered that. I
Yeah,
genuinely had
like
not considered that. See, this is again, this is what's great about having you here with me to discuss, because your perspective and your wealth of knowledge when it comes to mythology and understanding
yeah,
these deeper stories and what Rick Riordan is trying to convey, it is very interesting to say the least, but how history has repeated itself. And Athena was offended, of course, by the acts of her daughter along with the son of Poseidon.
yeah, and it's just the parallel of, because Medusa did say in the previous episode that, like, I'm not just like you, I am you. Like that.
Mhm. Yep.
I don't think, I think that already started to kind of like that, and how Percy acts, like I mentioned in general, with how his blatant disregard for the gods. I think it's kind of really making hitting home and like opening Annabeth's eyes
Mhm.
to how the gods can actually be, because she was a golden perfect child. Like she
Mhm.
described that, like, I was perfect. I was a gift. I did everything that I could, and I continue to try and be everything that I can be for my mom. And then to be disregarded, and basically like that, Echidna and the Chimera would have killed the kids,
Yeah.
and Athena didn't care. So it's like, I'm sentencing you to die just because you
Mhm.
pissed me off. Well,
Mhm.
it's not even Annabeth's actions that pissed him off. It was Percy's,
Perseus.
which she punished Medusa because of the acts
Mm.
of Poseidon. So
Yep.
it's just, I think like that when I was rewatching the episode, just seeing the like, just the you could just see her stomach drop,
Mhm.
like that when she realizes what happened. Like, my mom's not going to protect us here. She's mad, and like
Yeah.
when Percy even says like, that was me, not you, and she's like, I went with it. Like,
Yeah. She's taken
but then it's like,
accountability for what she's done, yeah.
yeah, and like what's great is that, yeah, we're seeing, I guess, this realization about the god's true natures in Annabeth, while Percy has thought that Poseidon's never been there for me. He's never done anything. He's never showed himself to me. He's never done anything. And then he ends up saving him. And
Yeah.
we see in the next episode, that in episode 5, that he has a little bit more respect for his dad. And it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the parallels going in opposite directions. I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting to say the least, to again, we're being given this information in a very different way compared to what we read in the books, of course. So when the echidna catches up to the trio or the kids, I don't know how we want to classify them. I say the trio, and then I automatically think Harry Potter, like Golden Trio. Um, but
True.
with the echidna, catching up to them. Now, also keep in mind that while the kids were on the train facing the echidna, that the chimera had uh, stung or penetrated its what do you call it? Needle? No, that's not the right word. Help me out here. Can't think of the word. It pierces
um,
Percy. Um, a
yeah.
stinger. I don't know. We'll call it a stinger. And
Yes, stinger. That's the word. Actually, that is the word.
words are tough today, y'all. The stinger pierces Percy. He's he's being overcome with like the poison that comes from that stinger. And Annabeth has like this brilliant idea, knowing that he's the son of Poseidon. Water helps him heal. They take him to like the fountain that's over there at the arch. Now, I've never been to St. Louis. I don't know if the arch really exists there or it's just placed there to help. Either way, it is wise of her to do that, to try to help Percy. But the echidna approaches, enter the arch. They're trying to find a way to safety, and Percy's in no shape to take on the echidna, right? He's slowly being poisoned, and Grover is his protector. All their protectors. Annabeth's like, y'all go, I'm gonna fight this. And as they're like exiting the door, because they put the emergency or fire alarm, whatever, on to evacuate everyone, Percy's like, okay, before you go, take my pen, aka my sword. And as Annabeth is reaching for the sword, he brilliantly like just switches places with her, pushes her out the door, closes it, and he's going to take on the Chimera. What did you think of that?
I just kept thinking about how devastated Grover and Annabeth probably felt because, Annabeth saw Thalia risk herself.
Yeah.
And is now a tree. And Grover just thinking again, like another one of my kids, my charges that I'm supposed to take care of. I'm not doing a good job at that. And it's just that devastating feeling. Yeah. I was sad for them. And but the fact that, because Percy's fatal flaw is loyalty. We know this. Yeah. But well, we will know this. But right. I think it was a very vital, important moment because Annabeth learned that Percy didn't think that they could ever be friends.
Yeah.
And that did kind of hurt her, I think, in a little way. And
yeah,
because she's trying her best to be the best in this quest. And I think just like that, I think it's just so important that they met each other. And granted, I ship the hell out of those characters, so I can't help but seeing it. And it's just that this girl who has been abandoned by and felt unwanted and uncared for and unprioritized by her father, her mortal father, her stepmother, and various other people in her life, that she just doesn't ever feel like that she's the priority. And then this guy she's only known for like a week at most, and he is risking his life for her. And that's and she also just discovered that her godly mother is like doesn't care if she lives or dies. And it's just I just thought it was so important for her to see that. And I mean, Walker looked rough. Like, they did real good with the makeup there.
Yeah.
I heard that like in the that like in the behind the scenes, but like because that's his like natural skin tone, they just darkened his eyes.
Oh my.
Yeah, but people were walking around when he was walking around there in the makeup. People were like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, guys, I'm good." Like, that's what I heard. But
that's fantastic.
I thought it was a pivotal moment for Annabeth and Grover.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was so interesting to see Percy's fatal flaw come up.
Yeah. Yeah. And definitely we'll be talking more about fatal flaws when, we continue reviewing this pod, or rather this show for this pod. The Chimera, I want to say, actually looked really good. I'm going to go out on a limb and say a lot of the budget went on to this Chimera, because it looked really good. I think
it did.
For what we were given, it looked fantastic. Again, we have nothing to compare it to because this whole episode, this whole scene was not included in the Percy Jackson movie that came out all those years ago. Instead of going to St. Louis, they went to Nashville, Tennessee, where the replica of the Parthenon is. That actually is a real thing. I did my research on that one. That's a real thing in Nashville. It's not like it was created for the movie. But yeah, like that was, for me, was just like, oh, cool. Like, we're actually going to see this transpire. And I thought that fight scene between Percy and the Chimera was really cool. The blast was, incredible.
Yes.
Although you and I both had the question of, like, how the hell is he going to, like, land in the water when in fact the arch is not, straddling the Mississippi River. It is, you know, on one side of it. So how the hell is he going to wind up there? And I think you called it. I think when we were maybe talking offline about this,
Yeah, oh, I
before
did.
the series aired, and it was just like, how is this gonna work out? And you absolutely called it when he, is plunging to his death. He really isn't, because a water vortex basically arises from
Mhm.
the river and swallows him up and saves his life. Um,
Yes.
that I was like, that's the only way they had to make it work. So Amber, you did call it when we were talking about this offline. So bravo to you for
Thank you,
being
thank you.
clairvoyant.
Thank you, thank you. I I mean, I knew because a lot of people that's, like, the big discussion since the Percy Jackson books came out, like, almost 20
Yeah.
years ago, like or
Oh
maybe
God, don't
already
say
20
that.
years ago.
Don't say that. I
Um,
feel old as hell already.
they a lot of people have called it out, and, Rick's talked about it, everyone's
Yeah.
talked about it, um, a lot of theories and things like that have come on, and I think the reason I thought about that is because I like a water vortex coming up, like a water tunnel coming up and basically catching him and just
Yeah.
yoinking him into the water.
Mhm.
I thought of that because in the show I watch, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the people can control the elements, and water is one of
Yep.
the elements that they can control. And waterbenders have been seen to do that, or at least to like have the water kind of like reach up and catch them to kind of cushion it, so that way they're not just like
Right.
belly flopping, or also just like the
Oh,
impact of because even hitting water at a certain point can
it'll
be
kill you.
very physically dangerous. Yeah.
It'll kill you.
So having the water come up to kind of like grab you
Mhm.
just kind of made sense. But
Yeah, no, it did. I mean, there's probably no other way to make it more plausible than that. I did actually appreciate, like, as he's falling, and it's a very, it's not like a one beautiful flaw like when you're skydiving or something. It's kind of chaotic. He's like
yeah.
like twisting and turning, and I'd imagine if you're falling like that without a parachute or a net to catch you, you might actually like black out a couple of times. That's a pretty steep fall, right?
Oh yeah.
So, the cutaways of like the fall and the hearing the whoosh of the wind, and you don't know which way is up, and then you're starting to see bits of that water vortex like come up and swallow you, and it's just like, whoa, like, okay, I get it, the impact that would have
Mhm.
on someone, especially someone as young as Percy, being 12 years old, just learned that he's a demigod. His father is Poseidon. uh and calling back to what was happening in the beginning of the episode with his mom, swim lessons, the importance of being able to do this because one day she may not be there. And
Mhm.
so, Percy's sitting at the bottom of well, I say sitting, but he's pretty much trapped at the bottom of the Mississippi. It's also very dirty, of course, very murky. And he's
Mhm.
holding his breath. He's, I'm sure, panicking at this point, and he's visited by a Nereid. Talk about
Mhm.
talk about that visit that he had, and what she said to him.
I thought how she looked was amazing
Yeah,
because
that
she
was cool.
didn't. It's so easy for people to make nymphs and dryads and nereids like make them look so humanoid,
Yeah.
but they're not. And I
Mm-mm.
thought that was so interesting, like to see that she looked kind of like a jellyfish, but also I don't remember what they're called, but there's like a kind of fish that like looks like feathers.
Mm.
It's like a
Mhm.
yeah, I it looks like a weird mix between those two things,
Yeah.
and I loved it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty
It
cool,
looked good.
and it call again, like you said, calling back to how she was telling him like your father will help you, like just breathe,
Mhm.
like just breathe, and like I think that was a great callback to how he told his mom in the memory, in the dream that he had, like, just breathe when you told what, like, that's what you tell me to do, what, like, just breathe. And
Yeah.
to kind of help her calm down.
She breathed.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it was so good. And then also, like, I think calling back to that was perfect to get him to do it, because as a human, instinctually, you want to hold your breath,
Yes.
and breathing in water is not a natural choice. It's so
Stop.
for him to
It's detrimental to
willingly
us.
do that. Yeah, like, for him to willingly trust that and trust
Yeah.
himself and trust his father and trust this random ass Nereid, like, it's just,
Like,
um,
cool.
it was a
Gonna
big
do that.
step.
Yeah.
It was a big step,
Huge step. Huge step.
but I really liked it. And I actually, just going back like a minute or so when he was still falling, I loved
Mhm.
how we were getting the wind whooshing and the chaos of it, him spinning and seeing the water vortex, and then it goes to that like out like distance shot where we can see him falling and it's just dead silent.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. I loved that
Ooh.
shot because it's like,
Oh.
yeah, he's physically falling as we're seeing it through his point of view. Yeah, that's terrifying, but also
Mhm.
seeing it from that angle, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that there was going to be a water vortex or something helping him. I knew he was going to end up in the water, but
Yeah.
I was still like, "Is he okay?"
It set the tone. It definitely set the tone. It made you worry about the outcome, even though we as readers knew the outcome. However, yeah, it's a really scary sight to see, like someone falling, let alone a child falling from that height of the arch, and yeah, not knowing what could be happening to him and what have you. Of course, yes, the water saved him. You know, his father was there for him when he least expected it. And I don't know, there was that part of me that kind of feels like, yes, you're new to this whole world of mythical beasts and demi and gods and demigods alike, but you also are a son of a Poseidon. Like, would it not just like thinking in during quiet time, I wonder if I could breathe underwater. I wonder if I grow fins. I wonder, you know what I'm saying? Like anything that's aquatic
Mhm.
related, my mind would just be like spinning of, I wonder if I could do all these things, right? Like breathe underwater
Oh, yeah.
and be able to like communicate with dolphins and you know shit like that. Like that would be what's going through my mind. But again, I'm also talking as a 30 something year old person, not like a child who's just brand new to this world. But yeah, to me, it would have just been obvious. Like, dude, you're the son
Mhm.
of Poseidon. Like, just freaking breathe. You know, just breathe.
I
You'll
think
be fine.
if they had a little more downtime, then yeah, he definitely
Yeah,
would've. But, I mean, he found out he was the son of Poseidon because the water healed him, and then Poseidon claimed him, and then,
he got
"Okay,
pushed
now
into
go
the
away."
water. Yeah,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
"Okay, now go away, go on your quest, bye."
right.
And he hasn't really had a chance to
Yeah, that's
sit
fair.
and ponder that. So,
That's
I
fair.
mean, but hey, I mean, we know he will
We know he
eventually
will.
figure things out, and he'll
Mhm.
have all of those cool things, like, and I'm not mad at the fact that, like, I do think it was really cool that in the books, Percy can choose to get wet or not.
Yeah,
Like, I think that's pretty cool, but I can
yeah.
also see how that'd be really, really hard to show
And
in real life.
that's one of the things that, you know, because 'cause I'm watching this show with John, my husband, and he pointed that very detail out, saying that, "No, Percy can choose whether or not he wants to get wet or not." And I'm like, "This is a TV show. There is a budget. Like, you're gonna spend a
Yeah.
lot of money trying to, like, superimpose a dry looking kid in water." I'm like, "Budget, John, budget. Like, just
Yeah.
accept it for what it is." Comparison to the movie that we got with Logan Lerman, when he was in the water, he was wet, okay? Like, that's all there is to it, you know? Can't have everything. I'm accepting that
Mhm.
at this point, we're not getting everything. It's not like a
Well,
great, like, major detail of, "Oh my god, like, he's in the water and he's not dry." Like, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
yeah, I
Um,
thought it was actually, a good thing kind of seeing how just how he had to have swimming lessons as a kid, and then had to because I mean some people learn as babies. Like I
Yep.
learned as a baby. Like I
did not.
I like I I used to spend all day in the water to the point where my mom literally would like to just to get me to eat food, had to bring food to the poolside because I wouldn't get out.
My God.
Yeah, but I think like I kind of like how Percy didn't. Yeah, he just found out that that for one he is
It wasn't natural.
he's a demigod, and then
Yeah.
find out also that his dad is specifically Poseidon
Yeah.
because in the movie, like it's the movie starts off with Logan Lerman under the water holding his breath, like, I don't know, man. I just have really good ability to hold my
Lungs.
breath and like I just have really good lungs. I can do this. And it's
He's
like,
also much older. I mean,
yeah.
they had to age him up and all that
And
stuff.
then it just but
Yeah.
no, but then it got weird because like then oh, I'm a demigod. I wonder who my dad is. Dude, you're like an Olympic swimmer and you can hold your breath like a tank. What's going on with you? How do
Uh,
you
it
not assume? So
it wasn't
I think
it
it
wasn't
kind of
even it wasn't even that. It's like he gets to camp and it's like, "Oh, let's take you to your cabin. By the way, it looks like a beach house. You're the son of Poseidon.
yeah.
Ta-da!"
It was
Anyway.
it
Yeah.
just didn't feel right. And so like I like that. I kind of like that Percy is just
Discovering.
because natural reflex, you're going to hold your breath and I like that we had to have a Nereid be like, "Bro, you can breathe underwater. Just
Yeah,
try it."
for sure. Well, that's pretty much how episode 4, I Plunge to My Death, ends. And of course, it picks up immediately, almost immediately, with episode 5, which we're going to now dive into. A God Buys Us Cheeseburgers. Amber, I've told you once, I will keep telling you, I love the fact that these titles are actually chapters from the books, or book in this case. This episode follows the events from chapters 14, 15, and we get that portion of like some 13 and 16. Again, we're trying to put so much information into just 8 episodes, but this is the title of chapter 15 in the Lightning Thief novel. So we pick up where, you know, Percy is in the river, Annabeth and Grover are dealing with the aftermath of what has happened with the arch. There's, first responders, there's people who are being interviewed, there's, spectators and what have you. And there's some 3 very important spectators, Amber, that we see.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
this is also displaced from the first time we were introduced to them in the book.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Yes.
it's still significant. It's still important. Tell us about these 3 individuals
Mm-hmm.
that play a huge role here.
We see the fates. The fates are, well, if you're any of the kids who grew up watching Disney's Hercules, you see the fates. They are 3 sisters that share one eye and one tooth, actually,
Oh,
in the mythology. And
yep.
it's the same in the in Hercules. They bounce around it's comedic. They bounce around the eyeball back and forth between each other.
Ugh.
But
Ugh.
they can see the past, present, and future.
Yes.
And they actually the fates control the strings of fate. They basically, which are the human and mortal and demigod lifelines. So it's like a string, and when that person's life ends, they cut it.
Mhm.
And with just a pair of scissors, a knife, what have you,
Mhm.
retellings, you know. But them cutting the string is significant, and it like Annabeth does explain, it is an omen of death, that
Yeah.
someone will die. And
Yeah.
Grover didn't see them, but in all of the commotion, Annabeth does make eye contact with the fates, and they very purposefully, while making eye contact with her, cut the string.
Snip, snip.
And
Yeah.
that was very clear that someone is going to die.
Mhm.
And
Yes. Well,
yikes on yikes.
that someone is not Percy in this episode because he does resurface to land and is greeted by Grover and Annabeth, and all is well. He's okay. He's healed, and they're back together to continue their mission on this quest, rather,
Percy
to
Beth
save
hugs.
Percy. Beth hugs. Yes, it's so sweet. I'm finally starting to see a little bit more of that chemistry that Rick Riordan has been talking about on social media. It's been really hard for me to see it in these first few episodes, but with episode 5, I'm starting to see it just a little bit more. I'm starting to believe in it a little bit more, but still my favorite character in this whole series is Grover. Like I love Aryan's performance as Grover. I think he does like a brilliant job being Grover. And I
Mhm.
actually also appreciate that he's kind of being given a little bit more of a role than just serving as protector and like comedic relief or that kind of thing. But we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Once the kids obviously realize that, hey, people are kind of like looking at us, like we better bolt it. They're making their way down the highway, and as they're like, just waiting for vehicle to pass, or they think it's a vehicle or whatever from the distance. Annabeth tells Percy and Grover about the fates, and Percy's still kind of like, this is crazy. Like he's still having a hard time dealing with the newness of this world, and he's kind of like, we're gonna make our own fate. We're gonna beat the odds, blah blah blah, this and that, what have you. And then behind them, there's a voice. It's a brand new voice. And Amber, I gotta say, this was the turning point for me with this episode. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. We first get to lay eyes on the god of war himself, Ares, who is played by Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland, for those of you who may or may not know, is a former WWE wrestler. But yeah, he's had his fair share of being in the entertainment business. And because, once again, we didn't get any Ares screen time with the movies, this was something to look forward to for me. This chapter alone was something to look forward to, much like the
Mhm.
first one, the previous episode we just spoke about. What did you think about Ares and his interaction with the kids?
I thought he did a great job. I'm really glad that they didn't show they didn't like CGI fire in his eyes like Percy
See,
describes, but
I
you can
wanted
still
that.
see it.
I actually wanted that. I really wanted to see it, even if it was just kind of like, think Supernatural, right? When the demon eyes like kind of like take over and then they flick back. I wanted that much at least, just to convey, dude's got fiery red eyes. But I digress.
I
Continue.
I can
Continue.
see it. It's just but I really liked it. I think he did a great job, and the fact that he was starting like Twitter fights online was kind of funny.
It was.
Because I think that was a great subtle way for them to have him still showing that he is planting the seeds of conflict,
Oh
but
yeah.
without being Disney, without discussing war, because discussing war can be kind of iffy
Yeah.
in
Given
modern sense.
given real world current events, yes.
Yes, it can be a little tricky. So I think that having him starting conflicts over Twitter was hilarious. I just liked. I really liked his performance. He
Yeah.
was kind of cocky, kind of out there, but then also there was a moment where later on when he started talking with Grover, where you don't know if he's going to lash out at Grover or if he's going to agree with him, and he ends up agreeing with
Yes.
him. But it's like there's
Yes.
that moment of like, oh yeah, he is a god. He can go either way
Mm-hmm.
because the Greek gods, if anything, are fickle,
Oh,
and
for sure.
they're very, very emotional, and they are prone to their emotions and their habits. And I think he did a really great job seeing
Yeah.
it because he, other than Dionysus and Mr. D, he's like kind of the first god that Percy actually like interacts with, really.
Yeah.
And I I liked it a lot. I like that he had a little beef with Annabeth because he has a beef with Athena.
Yeah.
I just liked all of it. I thought it was great. I
Yeah.
really liked it. His outfit looked great. Him riding up
Mhm.
on the motorcycle was great.
Yes.
And again, I'm just so glad that, like you said, we got him this time
Yeah.
instead of in the movie where like we don't
Di
see
didn't
him.
happen at
We don't.
all.
Yeah, and he's kind of pivotal to the plot of this first book.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
changed it. They also changed who the bad guy is in the
Yes.
movie. So
Yes.
it's just, this is so great. I'm loving it.
I couldn't agree more. I've never seen Adam Copeland perform prior to this TV series, and I was digging it. Now, a part of me still wants a little bit more gruff. Like I need a little bit more like gruffness or like being more of a hard ass. Like, he was funny, which was good, kind of helped break up the monotony of things. But I was
Mhm.
looking for a little bit more gruffness aside from just like the red fiery eyes and sunglasses. I at least wanted that as like the intro, and then it could just go away. Like I said, supernatural. However, yeah, his interaction with the kids I think was fantastic. Kind of trying to like speak to them on their level, but also be godly at the same time. It was a
Yeah,
really
calling them
interesting.
cousins.
Yeah, it was
Like,
just
yeah.
just with the whole dichotomy of it all. And the the other thing, and you've already mentioned it before, was Aries' interactions with Grover. And this is where I want to talk a little bit more about Grover in general being given a little bit bigger role in this episode than what we got in the book, because
Mhm.
what was very different was while Annabeth and Percy go on this quote unquote little side mission for Ares to retrieve his shield at a water park, and we'll talk about that momentarily, Grover stays behind with Ares in the diner. And it's it was kind of weird because it, it was Ares saying like, no, you two go, the satyr stays with me. And Percy's all like, no, we all go together, or we don't go at all. And Grover's like, no, 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 like I got this, like I'm good, I'm good. I'm like, oh, like this is different, like because he actually goes with them to the water park, right?
Mhm.
And he's got like something up his sleeve, and I was very very intrigued by this. I'm like, what is he doing? Because I
Mhm.
often think, or often forget, even though he looks to be Percy and Annabeth's age, he's 24. Like, so you would hope as a 24-year-old you're a little bit wiser, you're a little bit more methodical
Mhm.
with what you're doing. He's got the god of war sitting across from him at the table. And Grover tries to appeal to Ares because Ares just kind of like ignoring him. He's on his phone, he's like doing his own thing, and Grover's like, "Hey, we met once. We met once at
The solstice.
the solstice," which I thought was a great mention because that is something that was an important detail in the book. Um, Definitely can see where this is going for sure in later episodes. However, he tries to appeal to Ares by saying he's a fan. Ares is like, "What are you talking about? You're a satyr. Like you usually protest, at things that I do and whatnot." He's like, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "I'm a fan. I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of your work where people don't die. Like
Yeah.
you resolve conflicts." And he starts naming off these different wars or different moments
Battles.
in history, battles, thank you, where it was resolved peacefully. It wasn't a bloody massacre. And Ares is kind of swaying a little. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, like no one talks about that. And they're starting to bond. Like what
Mhm.
what what did you take away from that interaction and Grover trying to appeal to Ares?
I loved it. I thought it was great seeing Grover, I guess, do something on his own, because very often it's trope at this point where in a trio there's always that one character who is goofy or whatever. And like in Harry Potter, they make it very clear in the movies, especially, that it's Ron. And we have spoken about how we dislike that. But
Very much so.
Grover is his own prominent character with his own plot and his own stories and his own adventure. And I think that's very, very good. And think that this was a great, important way for him to actually be very, very useful. And also, he's clever too, because he is.
Yeah.
He has experiences. He is 24. He has experiences. He has life things that Annabeth and Percy don't have, and he couldn't talk that freely to Ares when the kids were there because he has to be a good role model for the kids. So, okay, now the kids are gone. Let's talk shop. And let me manipulate you into giving me answers. And I thought it was great. And I thought it was a very clever way for him to be using how he worded his reasoning for liking the nonviolent war and the conflicts and stuff. I loved it because a lot of times Ares is seen as, because Athena and Ares are both war gods. And we see a little bit of that because Ares does talk about it. But it's a lot of the time Athena is seen as strategic war, and Ares is seen as violent, bloodshed, physical war.
Chaos.
Yeah, but that's not all he is. He has other things too going on. He is a god in his own right, just like Athena doesn't have just war strategies. She's also the goddess of wisdom as a whole and other things. Like they're multifaceted. And I thought having this like highlight on Ares was kind of refreshing for the mythology in me and interesting to see how Grover went about it. So I really liked it because we haven't mentioned it in the book. Yeah, he does go with them to the water park, but then to get to the water park to actually function, he has to man the water pipes.
Yeah.
So it's basically like Percy and Annabeth went alone anyway, because he's just off to the side and it's not as vital of a role. So having him play this strategic
game.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it a lot.
I couldn't agree more. Failed to mention that the reason that Ares just happens upon the kids is because, according to him, that Zeus has sent out all his children to locate the Master Bolt, which is what Percy has been accused of stealing. And, he keeps saying, like, I didn't steal anything. Like, I just learned that I was a demigod like 5 days ago. Like, give me a break. And, that was something that stuck with Grover about, him, Ares, being out and about searching for the Master Bolt. And I can't remember precisely, and I should have written it down, but something that Ares had said about knowing who the thief was. And that's something that, again, stuck with Grover. And now he's got something to play with. Now he's got something to try and extract more information from Ares. And so Grover kind of repeats it back to Ares about, knowing who the thief actually is. And it stops Ares in his sort of, momentum of just going on and on and on about, his greatness or not his greatness, but everyone thinking that Athena is so great and this and that or whatever. But really, he's got a lot to offer too. It's just that no one like recognizes him for that, much like what you were just saying. And Grover's just like, yeah, you're totally right. And, that's why you know who the thief is. And that's why you're going after the thief or whatever. And Ares kind of stops and he's like, what did you mean by that? And then you see like the stare off between the two. Brilliant work between these actors. And like I said, I have to give so much credit to Aryan, who plays Grover, because that was great casting. I said it. I've said it since the first episode. For me, he's got the most personality. He's got great range, especially when he's, grumpy as hell in the morning on the train.
Mhm.
I love him, protect him at all costs. Okay. Like, I love
Yeah.
that. I absolutely love that Grover was given a much bigger role to play in this episode. He wasn't just useless. He wasn't just, manning pipes, as you mentioned. He was actually digging for information and being helpful to the quest and also being a protector.
And it was great seeing Aryan playing Grover in this very pivotal, very interesting plotline. But also, like, later on, Annabeth's performance near the end of the episode, like when she's speaking to Hephaestus, like that was phenomenal.
Spoiler!
Like these kids, I am so impressed. I love it a lot. And I mean, granted, part of me but part of me is a little sad about how they changed um the trap that they get into.
Yeah.
But we will get there in a second.
I mean,
But
we're gonna dive right into it. Yeah.
okay, yeah. But yeah, Percy and Annabeth make it to the water park, and I'm sorry guys, but I ship Percabeth so much. The boy doesn't like they are too young. They don't know each other well enough to realize that it's a crush developing, but the fact of like he basically asked her out to the movie because he does say like, oh, this like I haven't seen a lot of horror movies, but even I know I wouldn't go in here. And she's like, oh, I've never seen a movie. And he's like, oh, well, if we survive this quest, like we should go and fix that. And it's like, oi.
Oh God. I'm trying to remember being 12. And I mean, no one was
I
interested.
don't want to remember being 12. Let's not.
No one was interested in me at all at 12, which is, fine. But just looking back on it and thinking, would I have picked up on that as a 12-year-old? And the answer is probably no. But at the same time, I want to say
I
yes.
don't think he intentionally meant it that way, but
yeah.
Come on, Percy.
It was sweet. It was very sweet, to say the least. It was really, really cute. I also thought to myself, like, what red-blooded American has not seen horror movies? But then I have to remember, we're talking about Annabeth. Annabeth has basically grown up at Camp Half-Blood. She hasn't spent a whole lot of time in the outside world. She ran away
when she was 6. But even then, like, her parents didn't, like, pop in a movie or something? Or, like, did she not have any, like,
not Disney
teachers?
We didn't see Disney growing up, Annabeth. Come on. Anyway.
But she didn't, like, she's 6 when she ran away, so she would have had at least, like, kindergarten and first grade, maybe. But, like, your teacher wasn't hungover once?
Gotta watch Lion King. Gotta watch Lion King.
I just, that was kind of shocking to me. But I do like their commentary because, like, they do, once they get to the gates to go through, like, the gosh, what's it called, the spinning thing, the counter, the counter thing, that's where they get to the celestial bronze. That's where they see the celestial bronze, and they start, and she tells them to freeze, and as she continues looking at it, she's just getting distracted by the technology of it, like, oh wow. And he's like,
that's
Annabeth, focus.
That's the ADHD for you. That's the ADHD.
But I loved it. I loved it so much because she's just geeking out over it, and she's just like, actually, you know what? Just go, keep going. And he's like, you said I might die. The fate says someone's gonna die. Are you sure? And it was just, the dialogue was so funny.
Yeah.
And I can actually see these kids being the heroes that we do know at the end of the original 5 books. So, like, I can envision it now, especially with that.
Yeah.
And how they played off of each other.
And this is what I'm saying. This episode really, like, made me open my eyes a little bit more to seeing their chemistry together. I'm starting to see it a little bit more. Before it was just like, man, like this is terrible. Like who thought to cast these kids together? But you know what? They're making it work. And they're doing a really good job with showing that awkwardness of like people who don't know each other. They might not like each other just because of like parent rivalries, because Percy gets go on a quest and Annabeth never has, blah blah blah. It's starting to unfold at this point, which I'm very grateful for. Again,
Yeah.
for me, this episode, it's like, oh, like I'm actually enjoying what I'm seeing so far, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with these changes. Like these changes for finally for me was like, I'm not going to argue these changes. They work. Are they in the book? No, but they work, and I'm okay with
Mhm.
it. The next part I want to talk about is probably my most favorite part of this episode.
What is love?
And oh my God, listen, I was also drinking. I was having my glass of wine. And because I thought to myself, I'm probably going to need alcohol in order to continue watching this show, because it's just like I'm probably going to end up hate watching the show. So I had my little cup, drinking
Was it
my
a little
wine.
cup? Was it really a little cup?
It was a little wine tumbler. It was a little wine tumbler. Was it
Uh-huh.
filled all the way? Probably. I don't know. John poured it. Anyway,
Was it the second glass?
no, it was the one and only. But
Okay,
when I
okay.
tell you these kids get on that little boat to go through the tunnel of love, because they're supposed to be retrieving Ares' shield from this, very weird, like mechanical sort of, water park. By the way, y'all, it's designed by Hephaestus, however you want to say his name. Um, yeah, that much is understood because they also know that Ares is known for fooling around with Hephaestus's wife, Aphrodite. So, what better way to illustrate that than by going through the tunnel of love and have Hadaway's song "What Is Love" playing at full blast, and
I want
the animation on the tunnel of the story, and you start off with one character doing the head move from Night at the Roxbury. Done. Absolutely done. Just like,
I'm
what is
I
love?
really, really desperately want Hephaestus's playlist. Like, please. Because that his wife is the goddess of love, Aphrodite. And
So
so like,
fantastic.
I mean, just the lyrics, what is love, baby, don't hurt me. Like,
Don't hurt me no
he
more.
was hurt by Hera, he was hurt by Aphrodite. Like,
Everybody.
that was the most comedic, perfect song that Hephaestus could have picked for that.
Oh,
And then also, like, the little animation was like so
perfect.
jazzy and perfect. I loved it so
Perfect.
much.
It was
I
great.
and what was really funny is Kaylee, because I am watching the series with Kaylee as well,
Yeah.
and Kaylee had two very, very funny comments throughout this. First, it was a while back, but like when they discuss, like when Percy's like, Annabeth, why are you being weird with me? Or like, oh, it's because you hugged me. Her response was like, Percy just assumes, oh, she's in love with me now. She hugged me. Like, that
Such
was
a
just
boy
funny.
thing.
It
God.
is such a boy thing, but it was so funny. When she sent that, just like the timing that she sent that text to, it was funny. And her other time was just like, what in the psychedelic are we experiencing here?
Okay. Okay. And again, I'm drinking with my little tumbler. I'm
Mhm.
already like maybe halfway through at this
You
point,
were
and
expecting some spiders?
no, 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 not spiders, not at all. Thank goodness, no. But like as soon as I
They
hear,
are supposed to be spiders.
I know, but I was like, nope, that's not gonna happen, because as
Oh
soon as I
yeah.
heard Hadaway, I'm like, oh, it's a party. Oh, yes. Now I'll tell you, the animation did make me feel very sad for Hephaestus. However,
As you
uh,
should. His story is so sad.
it's very sad. But I
Mhm.
was I was jamming. Okay, it was a vibe. All right, I'm like, all right,
It is a vibe.
this scene alone saved the episode. May have saved the series for me, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse, okay? Things could, go awfully bad at the very end. But I love what they did with that tunnel of love, using the song What is Love, and just the kids are just kind of like, what in Hades is happening here? And then they go on. I kind of equate it to the Jurassic Park ride over at Universal in Orlando.
Okay, yeah, I see it.
You kind of start off slow and you're like being observant and waters are calm, and then you gradually start, escalating somewhere, and then you go through the deep, plunge and rough waters. It's starting to get scary at this point. Eventually they come out at the end of it, intact, if you will, only after Percy saves Annabeth after they fall out of the little boat thing. She's being, spun around in the water, doesn't know which way is up. Percy's trying to reach out for her and save her. And next thing you know, they're landed on a platform, completely drenched, of course. And she's like, "Did you just like use like powers to pull me out?" He's like, "No, that wasn't me." And she's like looking at him like, "Dude, who else is here?"
Like, bro, you waterbended. Come on, just deal with it.
And he's like, he's basically like, "Shut up, I'm still trying to figure this out." Like, like, don't ask me questions. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, clearly, bro. But yeah, that was really interesting to see unfold. And you have to refresh my memory, Amber. I don't remember this chair, this golden chair, this statue of what I assume is supposed to be Hera. There's peacock's feathers, engraved onto this chair, which I know is very symbolic of the goddess Hera. So I'm going to turn this over to you to explain, set up the scene, and to explain any significance whatsoever this change made. I think it's a change from the story to
It is
TV.
Well, originally in the book, they kind of end in a pool. The pool like drains. They get netting thrown over them, and mechanical spiders come out and start attacking them. And Annabeth full on freaks out because children of Athena are targeted by spiders because of arachne.
Mhm.
And I also have arachnophobia, so I am also very glad they changed this.
Good call, Disney.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I really do hope that they do address that later on.
They're gonna have to at some point.
Yeah, they have to, because that is such a that makes so much sense for spiders to kind of go after children of Athena specifically. Makes sense. But so it is a change in how it happens. Instead, they end up in the chamber with Hera. The statue of Hera is holding the shield that they need, and beneath it, and kind of in front of her, is a chair, a throne. And in mythology, because Hephaestus was born, Zeus had a really, really bad headache because he ate a fly. There was a woman. Oh my gosh, where do I start?
Just make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on the audience. You don't have to go
trying, man.
well deep into the lore, but it's okay.
Zeus made a woman pregnant, another goddess pregnant, and he had her turn into a fly, and he ate her. And while inside of him, she was already pregnant with Athena, and he ended up having a headache, and of asking, in need. Oh wait, am I mixing up Dionysus? Whatever? Hera was mad that Zeus had basically split like a cell and created another god without her. That's the basis. That's all you need to know, people. Hera was mad, and so, if you can have a kid, an immaculate conception with yourself, I'm going to have an immaculate conception with myself. So she did that and decided to. And the child ended up being Hephaestus, and Hephaestus is he is considered disabled. He is not as beautiful
It's not
or
attractive.
as attractive as the other gods, and she just kind of yeets him out of Olympus, and he
Slow
ends
way of
up
putting it.
becoming he becomes the god of forgery and craftsmanship, and he builds his mother a chair, a throne, and dedicates it to her. That's why there's all the peacocks all over it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally kind of just to show her a lesson, because she does sit in it, and it traps it traps anyone who sits in the chair. And
Yep.
He only let her go if Zeus and Hera agreed to have give him Aphrodite as his bride.
Aphrodite. Yep.
So he ends up getting Aphrodite as his wife because of that chair, because basically he used it as blackmail to get Hera immobilized, and also
As
to
you
teach her a
do.
lesson. And to teach her a
As you
lesson.
do.
Mm-hmm.
Hera's kind of the worst, but we're not
Kind
going to
of.
elaborate. We're not going to elaborate on that here and now until later seasons, because it delves into other books from this series. So I do have to point out that we are going to see the kids, kind of put themselves in the situation where it's like, okay, well, in order to obtain the shield that Ares wants us to retrieve, one of us is going to have to sit in the chair. So, of course, it's like back and forth. No, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. No, I'm going to do it. And ultimately, Percy basically says to Annabeth, listen, like, I, the only way we're going to succeed with this quest is because of you, Annabeth. Like, you have to move, go on. And in my head, I'm thinking, Harry, it's you that has to go on, not me, not Hermione, you. That's what was like playing in my head, seriously. And I was just like, oh God, here we go. So Percy decides he's gonna sit in the chair, and he says, it's warm, it's kind of like this like weird feeling. And then eventually you see the chair kind of come alive, and it's starting to, crawl over. I say crawl, but like, just start making him one,
Enveloping.
enveloping, thank you, making him one with the chair. And he basically turns into solid gold in the chair. There's no way for him to escape. Annabeth is trying to figure out, now that she has this shield, because it has dropped from the hands of Statue Hera, that she's not leaving without her friend, even though she had made the promise that she was going to go on. If she was successful, that she was going to bring back his mom from Hades and, maybe come back for him, basically, right? Well, she's like, I'm not leaving without him. Like, I'm going to try to figure out this mechanism with the celestial bronze. And then you hear someone up high, not that deep, but you hear someone in the background and asking, like, can I help you? Like, do you need a way out? He, blows his little whistle, and out pops a ladder, and it's none other than Hephaestus, which I have to point out, Amber, because I was so excited when I found out this information. I'm like, holy supernatural. Like, this actor that played Hephaestus is Timothy Omenson, who played Cain in Supernatural. And I'm like, whoa, like, this is,
I created a monster.
I wasn't prepared for that, because he looks so different than what we got in Supernatural. Because to me, like, he's an older man, but damn, does he look good. Holy crap.
And I still liked his performance as Hephaestus, because, well, granted, I
Yes.
like him as an actor, not just from that, but also
Yes.
as, in Gallivant and a few other things. But
Yeah.
he actually does use a cane in real life. So the fact that he got to use his cane for Hephaestus, and the cane is beautiful. Like, I wish we got a little bit more detail of that. That was kind of nice.
Is the cane named Cain? But I'm sorry.
No. But I kind of want to go to like Annabeth and Percy's discussion before he gets in the chair, because like the beautiful lines of the fact that he's like, can I ask you one thing? And she's like, I won't leave the underworld without your mom. Like,
No.
that just means so much. And like, you can just see that he like his
She's already
heart kind of
in
melted a little
tune.
bit.
She's already
Yeah.
in tune to what he's going to say or what
Yeah,
he's
but like
thinking.
his
Yeah,
heart melted a little bit. You can see it. He's just like,
it's very sweet.
thank you, but that's not what I was going to
Very
say. I was
sweet.
going to say, can you please have like find a way to come back to me
Come
after this
back.
quest? And she's like you had to ask. Like, oh, my heart. These
My heart.
kids. I
So
was
sweet.
loving it, and he and like as he was getting into the chair too, like it was so sad hearing him be like, "It's okay, I'm okay," and then it like cuts off. I was so sad because you're just
It's
seeing
like,
him at the.
is he reassuring himself or is he reassuring Annabeth?
I think he was reassuring her because
I think so
he
too.
is Sally Jackson's son, and that is just how the Jacksons are.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I genuinely think he was consoling her. But
Mhm.
hopping back
I
to
agree.
Kane, not Kane.
I did it. Yes.
Yes.
I've called you Amber. Or no, you are Amber. I've called you Annabeth. I've called Annabeth Amber. Yes. Successful. Anyway, continue.
um, I really liked I mentioned it earlier, the beautiful like monologue that Annabeth had with Hephaestus. And
Yeah.
like, because he's like, hey, I know that you're kind of in big trouble with your mom right now.
Yeah.
If you leave here right now and continue on your quest, you'll have glory, you'll have her appreciation, which is all that you ever wanted.
Yep.
And like, it's so interesting because now we're seeing that, like, because Percy's fatal flaw is loyalty, but his desperate amount of loyalty has impacted Annabeth, that she changed her mind. She deviated
Mhm.
from what was expected of her and
Yeah.
wanting her mother's appreciation and love and attention, that she stood up to Hephaestus. Like, this girl, like, she before was like, you have to respect the gods, you can't do whatever. And she's full on like kind of borderline yelling at a god.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it was just
because
the growth.
she's echoing something that Ares had told the 3 of them in the diner, is that one thing's for sure is that this is a messed up family. The fact that
Yeah.
we constantly are doing things to pretty much upset balance, I guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature, and for her to realize that, yeah, this family is messed up. All the gods think the same way. And she goes, maybe I thought the same way too, but I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
like you. I want to be more like him, some Percy, who has come into this completely just not really believing everything, but he has a different perspective. And
Unobjective.
like yeah, and he's changed her mind probably without meaning to, and that's huge.
I love it. I loved all of it so much.
And
It was
and
beautifully
her
performed too. Leah,
oh, yeah,
amazing. Like, she
yeah,
did amazing.
she really did, and this again, I'm starting to see. I'm starting to see the skills, I'm starting to see the chemistry, I'm starting to see it a lot more, and for her words as Annabeth to have an impact on a god,
Mhm.
make him reverse his machine, which he said, "No, there's no way that you can undo it," but of course there always is. He undoes undone wow, I can't say that word.
Undoes.
That. He, reverses the machine, and, Percy's able to, get up from the chair, he's fine, and, Hephaestus says to Annabeth, you know, "I'll put in a good word to your mom," and walks away. And it's like, wow.
Festus is a bro. I mean,
Yeah,
I love it.
that's pretty impactful. That's incredibly impactful. And, when the kids return to the diner with the shield, by the way, his shield looks fantastic, you know, with the hog boar. What's his
Boar.
animal? Yeah, boar. I was like thinking the hog's head for a second. Sorry.
I mean, very similar creatures. So
Yeah, almost tomato. But yeah, I mean that shield looked really cool. I love the details behind it. Bring it back to Ares, who had promised them, "Hey, if you bring me back my shield, I will get you a ride to the Lotus Casino in Vegas, which is where you're going to find Hermes. I'm going to rely on you to tell me whether or not this was from the book, because honestly, it's been a while since I've read the book. But it's in true book fashion in terms of transportation to the Lotus Casino in Las Vegas. None other than hitching a ride in the back of an 18-wheeler.
Yep, but it wasn't intentionally there. He was supposed to go.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be but they ended up getting off in Vegas because the thing did go to Vegas. That wasn't it's the Hermes that's new. They
That's
weren't
what I
going
was
to
getting at.
specifically
Yeah.
the Lotus Hotel specifically for
Right.
Hermes. They
Right.
accidentally went into the Lotus Hotel, not knowing that it was the home of the Lotus Eaters.
Right.
And from the Odyssey. So it was
Right.
that little shift and that little change. But again, I'm not really mad at it because they're in Vegas. Why would these kids just walk into a random casino?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, so there's substance behind it. And I actually appreciate the fact that we're getting a lot of appearances from gods. It's not, you know, it's not like compared to the movie where it was just you see Poseidon and Zeus in the very beginning, you see Poseidon or hear Poseidon here and there. Like you're actually getting to see a lot of these interactions with gods. And I think that's really, really cool considering the fact that gods have like no interaction whatsoever to their children. So the fact that these demigods are actually going to encounter the gods of Olympus is really, really fascinating.
And whether or not we actually discuss about the end of the book and the end of this, what this series is going to be like, I'm actually very happy and interested that we're going to see Hermes because that gives us so much room to get backstory on Luke. We're granted we're not going to get the full backstory on Luke until what, book 4, if that.
Probably
4 or 5.
Yeah.
So, but like I guess we could get hints to the dynamic between Hermes and Luke, and Hermes and all the kids. And Hermes is canonically in the Percy Jackson universe the one with the most kids. So it's
it's
very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see like how he reacts to talking to demigods because he has so many of his own that it's just going to be, it's going to set the tone for how the gods view their children. And I think it has a lot of beautiful room there to have potential. So I'm very excited for it. And I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I've seen a few people being like, Hermes is canonically the guy who has the most most demigods, mortal children. And I just don't see that Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hermes having that kind of riz to like get with that many mortals.
Oh man.
But hey, I mean, there are some people who do thirst over that man. So I'm not one of them personally.
I can see it.
But hey, I'm not going to yuck anyone's yum.
Compared to the movie version of Hermes from The Sea of Monsters, and that was played by Nathan Fillion, you know, Nathan Fillion could get it back in the day, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yeah, he can get it. He can probably get it. Yeah. He's very talented, so you know he can.
He is very talented, and
I'm just saying, me personally, yes, he could get it. But yeah, I think the addition of putting Hermes in the Lotus Casino in Vegas like gives purpose to obviously go to Vegas. More importantly, in the back of an 18-wheeler, which the next episode that we will absolutely be reviewing does deal with hitch a ride with a zebra. I'm not giving you the right title. Give me 1 second. We take a zebra to Vegas, which was actually one of the a really creative chapter in my opinion. I loved what
Yeah.
hopefully will unfold in the chapter. I don't want to spoil anything for those who have not read the books. Again, this is something else that we did not get in the movie, so I'm very much looking forward to the things that we didn't get previously. So I don't want to spoil any of it, but I do want to end or wrap up this episode by with the departure of Ares and the kids. Ares is kind of like, get in the truck, don't get in the truck. I don't care. Whatever. You do you, boo. And the kids gladly, I guess, quote unquote, gladly get up in the truck, and Grover's kind of like, hey, could we get some like paper towels? It's like not really that clean in here, and Ares just kind of like waves the hand, the doors close, and it's like, okay, I guess not. I thought that was kind of cute. But
I love
then
just a little bit before that with Percy, like having
attitude,
attitude to Ares,
attitude.
and like it was just basically threatening him, and like and Grover was like, Percy, like twice, 2 or 3
This is
times
the
to be like,
god.
yeah, like
God.
you need to
Oh,
chill out, bro. But like that's just how Percy is, and I love that we're just starting to see like the
yes.
beginnings of the badass Percy that he will become, and I'm
For
so
me.
excited. And then the
Yeah.
whole thanks for the emotional trauma and cheeseburgers by like it was just
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was great. Yeah, for
I
me,
love
this
him.
was really the first time seeing very sassy Percy, and like you said, very badassness. We failed to mention another very important detail, Amber. We're gonna have to scoot it back a little bit. In the tunnel of love, where Annabeth and Percy are fighting about who's gonna sit in the chair, blah blah blah. We finally get to hear the term of endearment from Annabeth by calling Percy seaweed brain.
Yes.
Finally. So excited to hear that. Like I lit up when I heard it. I was just very excited to hear that nickname that she has for him, seaweed brain.
And
Hopefully
we
that's not
have
gonna be
like the potential. Ares might have given Percy the potential for wise girl, considering he said like you must be a child of Athena, always trying to be the wisest in the bunch.
Yeah,
Like
that's very true.
I'm
Yes,
telling you, like it's happening.
it's happening. No, I'm actually, like
I
I
love
said, um, this whole episode that ended with Grover basically telling the kids, "Hey, I was able to get information out of Ares. It's I think I know who the lightning thief is," and then it goes to black, which I think was a very very great way of doing a cliffhanger. So overall, for
Mhm.
me, this episode I think may be a turning point. It's the highest rated episode on IMDb as of today, time of recording. It is ranked 8 out of 10, which I would have to agree. I'd probably have to give it the same rating. So far, my favorite episode of this season. So
Mhm.
I'm very happy with it. Hopefully, I'm not going to end up hate watching this show, because I just
3
really
more
would hate.
episodes. You got this.
I know, right? But I more than anything, I'm enjoying reviewing these episodes with you, just getting your perspective and your take on everything, and also like going deeper into the lore
Thank
of
you.
what the story really can be about that we didn't get in the book. So it's very interesting. So Amber, overall thoughts on episodes 4 and 5? Is there anything that we may have left out that you want to touch on real quick?
Not off the top of my head. I think we kind of nailed everything
Yep.
so far. I'm really liking it. I know that like you're just now warming up to it, but I'm loving it. I'm loving every single second of it. Every single thing is just adding to it. And like you said, I'm loving that we're seeing interactions with the gods, because we didn't meet
No.
Hephaestus in
No.
the first book. We didn't
No.
we didn't interact with Ares at all in the movies. And
Yep.
much less Hephaestus. And now we're gonna get Hermes. I'm so
Very exciting.
excited for
Yeah.
all of this because it just seems like it's setting up stuff. And I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for any characters hiding in the background of the Lotus Casino in the next
Ooh.
episode.
Ooh.
Because I mean, hey, if we take those cabin whichever godly parent quizzes accurately, I may have some siblings in there. um,
Hey.
but
That's fun.
that's all I'll say on that. I'm very excited for the next episode.
Ooh, yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to watching the next episode. I hope it's going to be entertaining when we get to see Lin-Manuel Miranda. I'm very curious to see how he's going to portray Hermes. We got a little, very small cameo of him in was it episode 2? So yes, that is going to be fun, hopefully for me. I hope the things that happen in the chapter with the zebra will unfold. Sorry, 3. You're right. 3. End of 3. My bad. Hermes appearance. My bad. But I do hope that we get to see things unfold with the zebra on their way to Vegas, because that also plants the seed for something in the future that we've actually kind of had a cameo to in the first episode. But I'm not.
We're all just freaking out whenever we see that one specific type of creature. We're like,
Yep. That's all we're gonna say. That's all we're gonna say about that. We're not gonna spoil everything, y'all. So that wraps up today's review on episodes 4 and 5 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Amber, before we head out, please tell everyone about your wonderful YouTube channel.
Thank you. I have a channel about Harry Potter wands, specifically wand lore, the study of wands in the wizarding world. So every episode, I select a wand and I go into the cultural, historical, and symbolic meaning of the wood and the magical beast that the core is made out of, length and flexibility, and we analyze that to the character that matches and owns that wand, seeing how it correlates, how it doesn't, and it's a lot of fun, really interesting information that you may not have considered before about wands. But the channel is OllivAmbers.wands, like Ollivander, but with my name, Amber. And you can definitely check the links down here, but that's also where you can find me at OllivAmbers.wands on Tumblr, TikTok, and Instagram. And please, on any of those medias, reach out to me and talk to me, because there's a lot of other things that I'm a nerd about, not just wands and Percy Jackson and mythology. Please talk to me about any of it, or if you have questions or things that you want me to bring up, or hey, I am not infallible. If I get a myth or something wrong, like I completely butchered my earlier Hephaestus origins, go ahead and let me know, and I will definitely do my best to improve. But yeah, OllivAmber.wands, we are going to be returning soon to filming that soon once my office is ready. So
yay!
More
That's very
content on
exciting. Yeah, go show her some love. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel. Go like her videos. Go hit that notification bell. And do the same for us here at the Watchers in the Basement. Once again, we're on the road to 300 subscribers. So please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Show us some love. If you've enjoyed this episode of our review of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, or if you actually, really enjoy the TV series, or don't, doesn't matter. Hit that like button down here. We have fun talking to one another, as well as those who join us in the live chat when we have y'all here with us. It's always fun. It's always interactive. We love bouncing ideas and comments off one another. But also, we are available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as Threads, all at Watchers Basement. So be sure to give us a follow on those platforms as well, and help spread the word about us by using hashtag Watchers Basement. Tag us in articles, memes, things that you want us to review. We'll be sure to add it to our list. We do have something coming up on Monday. It's a holiday for most of us, but we will be reviewing the limited series on Disney Plus from Marvel Studios, and that is Echo. So if you're into that, please be sure to join us Monday in the afternoon for our review on the MCU echo. And lastly, if you're not into video podcasts, we have audio podcasts available to you on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thanks to well, it once was called Anchor. Now it's I think it's owned by Spotify, if I'm not mistaken. But go give us a follow over there and give us a 5-star rating. Amber, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about Percy Jackson. Join us, everyone, next week as we break down the next episode of Percy Jackson. Once again, that'll be episode 6, entitled We Take a Zebra to Vegas. So for Amber, I'm Brittany. Thanks for watching us and joining us today. We will see y'all next time.
Bye.